Hello everyone! The November season for Ranked has started, and I thought it would be fun to show you guys what it looks like when I jump into Ranked and start grinding for those higher levels so we can get those end of season rewards. Now, if you do think that watching me play competitively is going to be interesting to you, make sure you leave me a comment down below and let me know. Maybe we can even turn this into a series where I work my way up to Mythic. If not, I'm probably just going to casually play some ranked games and get up to Platinum or Diamond, somewhere where I'll be happy with my end of season rewards. But if you do want to see me try and get to Mythic, definitely let me know and I can do that for you. Now, to jump into standard rank today, I've brought out one of the best decks in the format. As you know, you always want to try and play a good deck if you want to win games. So this deck is very similar to a deck that's been popular for quite some time. It's focused on having Atraxa, getting all that value when Atraxa gets out onto the battlefield, and of course ramping up to Atraxa and controlling the board in the early turns. Now there are a couple of changes from the newest set that have made this deck a little bit better. Up the Beanstalk gives us some more card draw with some of our expensive threats, which is going to be really strong for us. And we also have Virtue of Persistence here. Not only is this going to be an early game removal spell that gives us some life, which is going to be great against aggro decks, but if we slap that down onto the battlefield in the late game, we can also start recurring our huge threats. Now, of course, this deck is great against aggro just because we have our early life gain on the Archangel, we have life gain on Atraxa, and now Virtue and Herd Migration as well, really stabilizing our life total as we're ramping, which is going to be really powerful for us. It's also going to be strong against other value-oriented decks in the format, as of course we have high-value cards, so if we can get to slapping Atraxa onto the battlefield, we're almost certainly going to be able to beat our opponent, since that's going to refill our hand as well. The mana base is fairly straightforward. We are including 2 copies of Mirrex here. I like Mirrex in this deck. It can give us some utility to get the colors we need if we've had bad draws earlier, and of course we can use that as a late game threat where we can clear our opponent's board and then just start making some mites to slowly get some damage out, as long as we can get ahead of our opponent. But yeah, fairly straightforward. We've got a nice game plan. Let's go ahead and see how this deck does. Alright, going first, and this is going to be a fine starting hand. We can go ahead and keep. We'll have access to a bunch of different land types. Let's start getting our tapped lands out onto the battlefield. Already, Leyline Binding is going to be much cheaper, and 2 copies of Leyline Binding is going to be great interaction regardless of what our opponent's deck is. Alright, maybe we're looking at a Golgari value deck. We'll see. Alright, let's play up the Stomper. Now, just taking a look here, we have access to everything we need except for black, so we are going to grab our Swamp here. Of course, Swamp is going to also make Leyline Binding cheaper. Spiteful Hexmage, sure. So it's definitely a Golgari deck that we're playing up against. Next turn, we can hold up both of our Leyline Bindings as well. Fun. Honestly, here, we have a couple of different options. We can go for the board wipe, just clear our opponent's board. And honestly, we have enough lands where I think that's going to be fine. So let's just play our Mirrex and wipe the board. Don't really care about the Stomper. We'll lose 1 life for it, but our opponent's not going to get to draw that extra card off the Blessing. We still want to find 1 more land, and we do. Proving Ground. This is also going to bring our Leyline Bindings down to 1. We'll pass the turn. We can make a token with Mirrex, hold up our Leyline Binding as well. Let's use Leyline Binding. Go ahead, get rid of that. Wait till our opponent's end step for the Mirrex token. Yep, make our token. We'll play up the Swamp because we want to keep Beseiju. Now we play Atraxa here. Even if our opponent can remove Atraxa, we have options. So Archangel is good, Up the Beanstalk is good. Let's see. Herd Migration, grab that. I think that looks good. And we'll move to combat and give our opponent a poison counter. So just like that, we've cast our Atraxa. Opponent plays Shieldred, that's fine. Pre-draw, Leyline Binding. Gonna take care of Shieldred. And we've got it. Alright, on the play once again, and this is gonna be a keepable starting hand for us. So we are a little bit shy on the white mana we need, but we can get our turn 2 Virtue and our turn 3 Topiary Stomper off of Mirex to get us a white land, which I think is going to be good. We're playing up against a red deck, we're playing up against an aggro red deck, so everything's looking really good to me. We're going to go ahead and kill the Monastery Swiftspear, gain 2 life. Again, the early life gain is going to be really good for us. Next turn, we've got Mirex Stomper to find a Plains. Phoenix Chick, fine. Alright, so we do have the Plains. We're going to want 2 for our Archangel. So, Mirex, Stomper. We're going to get the Plains here. And now, next turn, we can Archangel kick once with black mana. That could be good. Yep. Alright, and we find another one. Let's make sure we're tapping correctly here. Kicker for black. 2 damage, we're gonna kill the Phoenix Chick. And at this point, we should have just beaten the mono red deck. We gain 2 more life, and we have a 3/4 lifelink flying creature. Yeah, that's the win. Alright, on the play here, we'll keep because of the double briefcase. The briefcase is going to be solid ramp. We can get up to our invasion with the briefcases, which I think is going to be good. Even if we don't draw lands, this is going to be a fine starting hand. We're going to play out Boseiju for the briefcase here. Next turn, we'll have an interesting choice. If we draw an untapped land, we'll play that for the invasion. Otherwise, I think we just go Jetmir's Garden and play another briefcase. Concealing Curtains, sure. So no untapped land, so let's go Garden. Second briefcase. And that's fine. Cut down to destroy our token. That's really the only thing that cut down's gonna be able to hit for us. Now, I mean, best case for our opponent, they take the invasion. They're probably gonna hit Sunfall, though. Give us an Atraxa instead. I will gladly make that trade. Every time. Invasion of Zendikar. Now, we definitely want white. I think we're gonna want a white and a black land. Yeah, because that'll give us 2 white and 2 black. And we'll just swing at the invasion with our token. Next turn, we're looking really strong. We can play out the Atraxa, refill our hand a little bit. Draw, we'll lose 2. That's fine. Jetmir's Garden. We'll play out Atraxa. Alright, let's see. Virtue is gonna be one for sure. We'll get her. No, I think we take Sunfall here. I think our opponent seeing us have Sunfall is going to be better in the long run. We take Stomper as our creature. And let's pick an untapped land. We'll grab our forest. No attacks. We can chump block if we need to. Cut down, that's fine. If our opponent attacks with Shieldred, I think I'm fine trading. Alright. Lily gonna down tick, kill Atraxa. So this is best case, because we just use Sunfall here now. So let's go Sunfall. And I think, since we don't die to another Atraxa, let's just play out the Stomper here. Grab a blue land for fun. This way we just have access to blue. That's fine. Discard a card.
Drop it.
Now, honestly, I think we just get rid of Up the Beanstalk here. So, let's make sure we tap correctly here. We'll pay the double kicker. Cast this for free.
I'll be back with friends.
And now, honestly, I think we'll just discard one to kill the Graveyard Trespasser. Resolve. Discard. Gain some more life. Let's flip this token as well. Swing out for 6. Once we get down our Virtue, we can start bringing Archangels back out of our graveyard as well. I think Virtue is going to be better than Atraxa in the short term. Or in the long term, I mean. Move to combat. Three Death Touch. That's fine. I'm okay trading any of these. This is going to keep our opponent off the card draw with the Sleeper, gaining 3 life off the Archangel. Perfect. Opponent's going to make us discard one of these cards. We'll bring it back with Virtue at the beginning of our upkeep. I honestly hope they pick Atraxa here. Nice. Pick our graveyard, grab Atraxa, and we've got it. Alright, here we are going first. This is going to be a keepable starting hand, so I will keep this. Now, we did just get promoted to gold, which is pretty exciting. Let's go with... Actually, no, because that has black and we have the swamp. We're going to play out Jetmir's Garden first. Alright. Looks like we're finally playing the mirror. Maybe this is Esper. Nope, this is probably going to be the mirror for us. We're going to play out the Stomper here. We'll get blue off Sparta's headquarters, so we don't have to worry about that. I think we need the second white land here. We kind of have it off Sparta's, but we already have the black, so I think we do grab just a white land here. Next turn we can go Invasion of Zendikar. Get 2 more lands. Now let's see what our opponent decides to do this turn. Tap land, sure. Let's go Headquarter. That's going to drop Leyline Binding. The cost there. Alright, and now let's grab, I think, we'll grab a second black land and another white land. Now, of course, we have our Stomper, so we'll swing out like this. We don't have to worry about a board wipe from our opponent this next turn. They could be running Depopulate, but they're probably not. Now, also, because we have Awaken here, we can add 1 mana of any color, so we can use Leyline Binding. Interesting. Celestis. think our opponent wants to ramp, so we're just gonna get rid of that right now. Again, keep our opponent behind as far as we can. Jetmir's Garden is going to be the better choice for right now. We can cycle with the Proving Ground next turn, but we'll swing out first, deal off some damage. Opponent down to 15. Maybe there's a board wipe. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised. Yep, Sunfall. We'll tap this for black mana, and then we'll cycle. We find another Topiary Stomper. So that's going to be good for us. So let's play out the Stomper. We'll grab a green land this time, just for fun. Then we'll play out Mirex. Mirex will let us dodge the board wipe and start making tokens. Archangel of Wrath. So we're just going to destroy this first. Make our Mirex token. Cycle the Garden. Cast Atraxa. Now, let's see, we've got a couple different options here now. Let's grab Herd Migration, because that's going to be good for us. Let's grab Go for the Throat as our instant, Up the Beanstalk as our enchantment, Archangel as our creature, and we get to pick a land as well. Do I care about that land being untapped? I'll grab the blue land, just so we have an untapped land. And we do attack with the token, because they don't have enough to transform here, and that's the first poison counter. Now we can just cast Herd Migration for the full domain value here. That would be strong. We definitely want to get Up the Beanstalk out as well, so we can keep drawing cards. Sunfall again makes another token. That's fine. So let's go Up the Beanstalk. Do we want to get out the Invasion? Let's get out the Invasion. Grab our last two lands. Forest. And let's see. Oh, yep, we are just shy on Herd Migration. We could play out the Archangel here. However, we'd only be able to pay one of the kicker costs, so I think we're just going to wait. We can always use Mirex for a Might, and we have Go for the Throat to deal with a creature if our opponent plays it. So, I think we're in a pretty good spot. We'll see what they pick. Probably Leyline Binding. That's my guess. Up the Beanstalk was higher value. Mirex. My turn. Alright, so let's think about what we want to do here. I think we start by using our Leyline Binding to get rid of that. Next, we're going to move to combat. I'm actually going to swing like this. And then Archangel will pay the kicker twice. And now we'll flip our Invasion. And we also have Herd Migration, but I want to hold on to that. Because our opponent still has a tempting board to wipe, and we have a better board state, so we're going to keep this. If our opponent does wipe the board, then we can go ahead and get all of our herd out into play. Of course, we're way ahead of our opponent in terms of mana. This is going to be great for us. They can transform 2 of their tokens. Let's go ahead and use Mirex here. And I think we'll also use Go for the Throat to kill the Stomper. This will just give us a better board to swing into. We find a Sunfall here. Now, our opponent can just transform and block both of our mites, so we're going to swing like this instead. That's fine. 4 damage, down to 12. End the turn. Now we can always use Mirex, make another Mite, and then we'll start swinging. With those, maybe force the flips. Atraxa. Now we might be able to make a case for Sunfall next turn. If we don't find a specific removal spell for the Atraxa, we'll definitely be doing that. Opponent does have access to white mana, so they can Leyline Binding. I think it would be funny if they Leyline Binding our Leyline Binding. Alright. We're gonna make another Mite. Moving on to my turn. We do find Virtue here. Now that is particularly strong. I think what we're going to do is we're going to tap down Mirex to make another Mite. And we're just going to cast Sunfall here. Opponent's going to use Leyline Binding. Sure. Most likely gonna hit Leyline Binding here. Yep. Exile. Maybe they'll exile the other Leyline Binding, get Celestus? I don't know. Yep. Seems like that's the case. Of course, we get a fairly large token. And we'll pass the turn here. Virtue is going to be really big for us. We can get an Archangel or a Stomper out of our graveyard. We'll just get rid of the Herd Migration. Now, I really want to see our opponent flip one of those. That way we can use both modes here. Evasion is Zendikar, sure. Stomper, that's fine. Another land for our opponent. Alright, draw and discard. See what they discard. We know they're holding onto a Sunfall. Ossification. Alright, we're gonna do this just to gain some life. Then we'll play out Virtue. Beside you to destroy Mirex. We'll make a token with the Mirex. We can take our action here, grab a replacement land. And we'll just play out our other Mirex. I mean, opponent's gonna swing with the Stomper, and that's fine. It's gonna flip the Invasion. Next turn on our upkeep, we'll have Virtue. Nope, opponent's gonna go ahead and remove that with the Leyline Binding. Alright, so we find an Archangel here. Pay the double kicker. Let's see, no lifelink out of our opponent currently, so I'm contemplating just going face here, and I think I will. We have our opponent down at 9. We'll end the turn, hold up Murex. Right, opponent starting to transform. Now if they do attack with their flipped enchantment here, that's going to be fine for us, since we'll be able to swing in with our Archangel, start getting damage that way. You can, of course, block if our opponent swings out with everything. Alright, I think I'm just gonna go ahead return Sunfall. Opponent already has a Sunfall, so I'm kind of fine if they clear the board. No blocks. Murex to make a token. Alright, let's see what we get here. Herd Migration, that's actually pretty good for us. We'll go ahead and cast this. Opponent cycles. It's not unlikely that we'll see a Sunfall out of them next turn. Let's see. We'll have to take that, so we're actually going to need to hold back a blocker to deal with... Let's see, no, because we can give them back Make Disappear, so that's just going to be 8 damage, so we'll swing out. Yeah, not going to use Murex until we find out whether or not our opponent's going to use Sunfall. Alright, another Stomper. Again, we're probably not seeing a Sunfall with that play. Keep in mind, we just need 7 damage. Let's see. So our opponent can block all of this, take 5 damage next turn. Will be 6. So we'll resolve. We'll give them back Make Disappear. So we're looking at 16 damage. So we'll move to blockers. We'll have to block here. We'll just double block like this. This will be better trades for us. And now, once again, we're in the same situation where our opponent can block 3 of these. And then we've got 5. Going to be 6 damage with the Murex. If we swing out with everything. Up the Beanstalk first. We want to draw a card here. Up the Beanstalk once again. Draw another card. I'd love to see a Leyline Binding. I think that would be pretty good. Depopulate. Also not bad. Let's move to combat. Do we need to hold up a blocker? I don't think so. I think we just attack. We can wipe the board afterwards. And then, of course, we have Mirex to get our last bit of damage. Opponent has to block here. Things are looking pretty good. We have our opponent down at 1. We've gained 3 life. Let's see. We have to use Depopulate here. We clear the board. Opponent draws a card. Then end the turn. At the end of our opponent's turn, we can use Mirex. And if they don't find a way to block this, that 1 damage is going to be enough. Yep, opponent has to start cycling. Again, they really need a creature to get out onto the battlefield. They can draw and discard here. Again, Archangel now is the draw that would help us out. Leyline Binding as well would be pretty good. Leyline Binding, keep in mind, if we draw a spell that's mana value 5 or greater, we'll be drawing 2 cards off our Up the Beanstalks. Interesting that they played that land instead of cycling. Makes me wonder what else they have going on this turn. Herd Migration. I understand now. Again, we're going to just need a really good draw here. Keeping in mind the lands in our deck we're going to be able to cycle with is pretty good for us. We're almost certainly going to find what we need. Herd Migration. Autopay. Draw 2 cards. We find Atraxa and a Stomper. We can play out Atraxa here as well. But I actually don't think we will. I'm going to just pass the turn. We can block all of their beasts, so we don't have to worry about that damage. Our opponent won't have a one-sided board wipe. Yep, so there's Sunfall, and that's fine. We can use Mirex to make a Might. The 11/11 is a little bit of a problem, but we will be able to deal with it. I'm going to just use Mirex now. It shouldn't make a difference. Okay. Let's play out Atraxa, draw 2 cards. Again, these Up the Beanstalks are really going to make the difference for us. Atraxa. Alright, let's see. I want to grab Leyline Binding, for sure. That's our artifact. Invasion, Sunfall, Headquarters. We'll play out the Invasion. Decline. We'll play a land. So now we don't have to discard. We'll attack to bring our opponent down to 1 once again. Opponent's gonna transform. I think we'll play out the Stomper so we have a second blocker. Just because it'll give us more options. Now we have a couple of different options for us. We can use Beseiju to get rid of Leyline Binding to get our Virtue back. We can use Leyline Binding to remove a different permanent. This is going to be a pretty big turn. Our opponent's probably going to have to wipe the board. Alright, that's fine. Channeled Otawara. Cycling, sure. Ossification. That's fine. Gonna hit the Topiary Stomper. Looking good. We're gonna use Beseiju here. Next turn we can replay Atraxa. I do believe we have one more Archangel left in our deck, which will be able to secure the win for us on ETBs. Let's see what our opponent gets. They'll have access to 1 remaining mana with the Celestus. Leyline Binding, sure. So, opponent can just use a Leyline Binding. I think we start with Atraxa. Let me double check on the Archangels here. We've got 1, 2, yep. And none in exile for us. So we're going to try and find Archangel off Atraxa and these card draws. Archangel of Wrath. That's really the only spell that we're going to need. We already have everything else we could want in our hand. So we're just going to take you. Play you. Kicker. Kicker. Of course, our opponent does have Leyline Binding that they can use, but that's not going to stop the 4 damage that we're going to deal to their face. With 1 mana, they can't go ahead and discard that to gain 3 life either. I think we have it. There we go, 4 damage. And we've got it. Alright, so we're going to be leaving off there, having made it out of silver and into gold. Fortunately for us, we did win all of the games that we played today, and this is going to be a great start for the season. Now, if you guys do enjoy this kind of content and want to see some more ranked games, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to continue with this series and play some more ranked games for you guys. If you like this deck, let me know as well. I can keep playing this deck. I can play some other decks that are top tier as well. We have a lot of different options. Of course, I picked Standard just because it's a fairly easy place to grind out my ranked games in, but I'm also open to going to any of the other formats as well. So again, let me know what it is that you want to see, and I'll go ahead and make those videos for you guys. Now, as a quick reminder, if you guys are enjoying my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on my latest videos, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like. Now, that being said, we've got to see a lot of value this game out of all of our cards, and the mirror matchup really up the beanstalk here is a great card to have in this deck. This was the difference in the mirror matchup. Our opponent didn't have it, we did have it, and we were able to find the cards that we need. I really like this distribution of creatures and spells as well. Again, a lot of people run 4 of the Archangel just because that ETB is so powerful. I think we're okay with just the 3, especially since we're leaning into bringing back some of our big threats with the Virtue. Keep in mind, Virtue is a graveyard and not your graveyard, so Virtue can take things out of our opponent's graveyard as well, which is why I don't feel bad about killing creatures with Archangel, and why we're including 2 copies of Go for the Throat in this deck. Aside from that, we have a lot of strong interaction here. Again, we play around board wipes. We deal our damage, we wipe the board. right? We get those Sunfall tokens, and we have a lot of things that we can hold back and wait to get through board wipes, like our Murex tokens, which we can make at our opponent's end step, and of course the Sunfall tokens, which we can transform at our opponent's end step, or even on our turn. Herd Migration, keeping this in our hand, it's great for having pocket life gain. 2 mana, 3 life is really good. And in the late game, I mean, that's 5 3/3s, which is standalone going to be enough value to put a threat on the board after an opponent wipes the board or takes care of our threats. Biggest tip I can give you guys if you decide playing this deck is to not overinvest in your board state. You want to be dealing consistent damage to your opponent, but be cautious of the fact that our opponents will be running board wipe and they will be running interaction. If you can have 2 threats on the board, 2 large threats on the board at any time, right, you're going to be in a really good spot. Whether that's Herd Migration and a Topiary Stomper, or whether it's Atraxa and an Archangel, right, you want to be able to survive 1 piece of removal and not overinvest for the board wipe. Slow and steady wins the game. You will eventually outvalue your opponent if you do that. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got for you guys. Do let me know what you thought about this, and I'll see you all next time.